Joining me on this broadcast for India today, I have Dr. Soumitra Das, who's also the director of the National Institute of Biomedical Genomics, which is one of the 10 laboratories in India's consortium that does genomic sequencing called INSACOG, and has been working ever since the pandemic began and has been genome sequencing all sorts of variants of COVID-19. So thank you so much for joining us. Now, there is this new variant that has come up, Omicron. It's been recently named by the WHO, the World Health Organization. So why is there so much panic with regards to this variant? And why is it more transmissible as being stated by international health experts?
Look, Milan, is essentially RNA virus keep on mutating, so this is no surprise. But what is surprising is that in a single variant, we could notice that there are so many mutation has accumulated. So, and that's how that it has created as first interest and now a concern. Because, only the spike protein, which has the receptor binding domain RBD, that spike protein itself has almost 32 mutations. It's a cumulative mutations. But in one variant, appearance of so many mutations in one shot definitely triggers a panic button. But one thing I would like to mention that none of these mutations are actually unique in that sense. All these mutations were actually observed in the other variant. Alpha, beta, gamma, delta, mu, lambda, all these mutations were actually, but somehow they got accumulated in this particular variant, which we now named as Omicron. Please go ahead.
So some are also saying that there are more than 50 mutations. So is it too early or difficult to understand how fast this particular variant is mutating?
See, it's essentially you have to keep on sequencing and see that what frequency they are mutating and which populations, because it all depends. In future, when we have all the sequences done, then probably we'll be able to comment that whether they are actually accumulated and stopped mutating, or now they are actually keep on mutating. So one hypothesis was that perhaps that it has accumulated because of recombination in a single patient which is immunocompromised. If that is correct, then we don't expect that there will be further mutation unless it just ends up with another similar setup.
So, but what is the science behind this? Because if a virus attacks a person who is immunocompromised, in this case, it's been said that it could probably had been some person in South Africa who was infected with HIV. What is the science behind the mutation when the virus attacks someone whose immune system is immunocompromised?
See, in general, if immunocompetent individuals are infected, then our own artillery are able to resist most of these variants which are emerging. Okay? So they cannot really survive in the system. But if the immune system surrenders or compromised, then there is a chance of those variants that, virus sometimes intentionally, sometimes unintentionally do mistakes, and those mutations gets accumulated in the virus. But they can only survive if you have minimal resistance from the host body. Now, in case of immunocompromised patient, there is a minimal resistance from the host, and that's how they can sustain it and survive. And that's how probably it just accumulates.
So also there are theories of where this virus may have originated, because experts are saying it's not originated in South Africa, but it's been found by the researchers of South Africa. So perhaps we should also credit them for having informed the world about this variant through their genomic sequences. But what is the theory behind where it originated from?
So this is very debatable question. Thing is that it's not a question of credit or discredit. It's good that it's been identified. It doesn't really matter which country it is identified, but what is important that every other country should protect from entry of that particular variant into their country, so that we can stop the spread like the way Delta actually spread it all over the world. It should not happen like that. That's basically is the concern. So it's very difficult at this moment unless there are several reports from other countries, and then we do a phylogenetic time tree. Then we'll be able to talk about the evolution, that it has actually originated from where and how it has moved from one country to other geographic regions.
So, as we speak, even the United Kingdom has informed that 2 cases of the Omicron virus strain have been found in their country also. United Kingdom was earlier saying that there is no strain there. So certainly it's moving across borders. And at this time, do you think that vaccination or low vaccination in African countries, South Africa, is actually the reason why these mutations are coming up from areas that are less vaccinated?
In general, I won't be specific. In general, if you have a vaccine rolled in, then you put up selection pressure and you expect that the virus will try to evade from the vaccine challenge. So there will be mutations. So the way to overcome is to have a robust vaccination program so that the rest of the populations are not vulnerable. So, in a way, what the statement that you made could be correct. That, because of the low vaccinations, there are vulnerable populations remains there. And that might be a easy target for the virus to propagate. That's a possibility. Don't rule out.
So at this point, I would also like to ask you, countries begun opening their borders for international travel. There are countries that are now restricting international travel as well after the news of Omicron broke out, but India has still not really gone ahead with any strict measure to close its borders. Right now, even as scientists are looking at the origination and how the virus is moving, do you think at this moment shutting down our borders is one of the protection mechanisms that can be used to prevent its spread in the country?
See, this kind of a policy decision has to be taken in a much broader perspective, because shutting down an easy job, but at the same time you have to imagine a lot of other inconvenience happens when you shut down the travel. But what we have actually meeting yesterday with the INSACOG Scientific Advisory and Clinical Advisory Group, and we have actually suggested that we should somehow increase the stringency of the testing at the international traveler for any port. It could be roadways, it could be railways, it could be any port of entry. It should be screened, robust, and you need to sequence and figure it out if you can isolate those people who are actually carrying the variants. That's very important. And because, see, remember, all these passengers are RT-PCR negative when they are boarding. So there is minimal chance. Still, we are getting some of the positive samples, which they are getting on board or in transitions. So we need to somehow. I'm also agreeing that it is very, very a matter of concern that we should not get it from other countries. But at the same time, we have to strike a balance and try to see how we can ramp up this screening at the airport, make it more organized, make it more, foolproof, so that we don't miss the variant that is coming to the country.
Dr. Das, is it evading the kind of RT-PCR tests that we use currently? Have you found in your studies or research that?
No. So this is again, immediate concern comes that whether it will miss the thing. But most of these kit that we are using are non-spike. They're not using the spike protein, which is heavily mutated in this case. They are using other genes, right? And they are using multiple genes. Now, one way we are actually thinking that it could be possible that if we see that it is positive for other 2 genes, but negative for spike genes, that could be something like an interesting to check whether, that might have the mutations. But that's not the only way. Sequencing is the ultimate way to figure it out.
Okay.
But just keep it in mind that all these test kit that we are using are multiple genes, and it's very rarely that all the genes primers will be evading, and then we are not able to do it.
So you're saying that at least this particular variant can still be detected by a standard RT-PCR test.
Yes. So far, there is no threat at this moment.
All right. I also wanted to ask you, 2 of the South African nationals have tested positive in Karnataka. Have their samples been given for genome sequencing? Were they found to be carrying a strain of the Omicron virus in India?
See, the sequencing is not like an RT-PCR that you can just do it in 4 hours. It takes time, there's steps. So I think it's being sequenced. And as soon as the sequence comes, we'll disclose.
So also, what is INSACOG currently working on to increase the number of genome sequencing samples that we do? And what is that effort to that effect?
As I told you that we have been doing it from the Sentinel sites. We are also doing it from the surge districts. We are doing for the super events, super spreader events. We are also doing all the vaccinated, reinfected cases, vaccine breakthrough cases, make sure that we are not missing any variants. But at the same time, now we have, we started with 10 laboratories. Now we have 38 laboratories. We have included the state laboratories along with us. And we are also stretching it to something little different. We are trying to include swage surveillance to check in some cases where we are not seeing any reporting cases, but we can detect whether we can detect viruses in the swage. That's something INSACOG is now trying to stretch it so that we can have a good surveillance even when the disease or the virus becomes endemic. Although it hasn't come to that stage, but we initiated into that direction so that we can have the swage surveillance going on.
So do you think that we have reached the endemic stage yet, or are you not for this theory?
See, this is not the right time to discuss because people were talking about the endemic, but suddenly this cropped up. So we can't really say it because we don't know the virus haven't stopped mutating. So anytime it can come back heavily. So I think it's not the time to lower the guard. I think it's time to make sure that we are well protected.
So do you think that the current crop of vaccines that we have, whether it's the vaccines that are being used in India, Covishield, Covaxin, are seen to not work for this particular variant? Is this Omicron evading vaccines at this point?
See, this is something needs to be experimentally validated before making any comment. But, as such, as I was saying that usually that in any vaccines, we use multiple epitopes. And rarely all the epitopes can be evaded by the mutant virus. So it is not expected, but definitely needs to be checked. It hasn't come to India yet. If we have the isolates, we can actually test it in an animal model and try to see whether it is actually escaping or not, or we can do microneutralization assay to see the efficacy of the vaccines that are being vaccinated in the country. Those will be done once we have access to these isolates. But at this moment, it's a matter of concern. Definitely, it's a VOC, but there is no reason to panic. But we should be careful, like any other variant.
So my question to you also on boosters, because there's been a lot of debate over boosters, and countries like the United Kingdom, US, Israel, in fact, were one of the first ones to give out a third dose to immunocompromised population, and then moving forward to a younger population as well. And yet, Israel has seen a case of Omicron. UK is now witnessing 2 cases of Omicron. So what is the effectiveness of boosters then?
Well, if you remember the flu vaccines, every year they have to take flu shots. It all depends on how much memory cells they elicit, how much memory they elicit response, right? So, but you have to also think about it's a policy decision that in a country, at least the people should be first vaccinated with double dose. That's a priority. Then there should be, definitely the next step to see how we can sustain the protection, giving whether it's necessary for the further booster.
So having said that, children in India still remain unvaccinated as we are awaiting vaccinations for children. Do you think that should be made a priority right now?
It's a priority, definitely.
You're
The
saying it should
priority
be
is
made a
definitely
priority.
to complete the second dose for everybody, and priority is definitely that everybody takes both the dose.
Hmm. Okay, but also for children who are still unvaccinated
Yes,
in
yes,
India.
yes, yes. I mean,
And
yeah, in general, the children's are actually a little protective. Their immunity is much better than compared to us. But definitely, government is going to start.
Hmm. So also, as we will be discussing booster doses for immunocompromised people, and as I've discussed with you earlier, that this particular strain also happens to be a mutation in a person who was immunocompromised, perhaps with HIV. But another point is that even our healthcare workers were the first ones, and the vulnerable population was the first one to have taken the vaccine. And we know from several studies and experts have said that the immunity begins to wane after some months. So perhaps they should also be included in providing the third dose?
Yes, yes, definitely, yes. Because, we just have read in the newspapers that there is a outbreak in Karnataka in Dharwad district. Some medical college have reported so many cases of these doctors who were infected. So, so definitely that alarms us that we should be careful, and we should definitely protect our frontliners. They are the one who save us, and we'll probably, I'm sure, there will be appropriate policy decisions taken.
All right, Dr. Soumitra Das there giving us his expert opinions and hoping, that India does not see a strain, but their continuous efforts in genome sequencing will help understand whether the strain is in India or not, even as two South African nationals have tested positive, but genome sequencing are on to understand whether it's the same strain that's caused panic across the world. For now, the message is do not panic and continue to wear a mask, and certainly do take the second dose of your vaccination. Dr. Das, thank you so much for speaking with us.
Thank you.